Hello, it's Melinda from Alexis and Melinda's Art Space. I thought I'd bring you a new series in 2018. And I was tossing up what to call it, but I think I'm going to call it Empties, the Good, the Bad and the Ugly. So I thought that as I use up products, and that was this year's goal and next year's goal as well, is I've got a lot of bits, a lot of old stuff, a lot of bits and pieces I want to use up. And then I thought I would do a quick video on what I've used up periodically, probably every couple of months, and let you know how the products were, like a bit of a review. So if you want to go buy those products, you'll sort of know what my opinion was. So let's get started. So I have been collecting for, this is probably about 4 months worth. I had a bucket in my office and I've just been throwing empties in there, anticipating I would do the video, but the box is full now, so I thought I would. So we've managed to use up 3 rolls of masking tape. I used a lot of this to make my own washi tape, and the first 2 branches were Frenchieville. I don't even know what that brand was, a nice cheap one, in different widths. So we used up 3 rolls of masking tape, yay, in the last few months. Glue sticks. It's amazing as I'm going through and sorting all my goodies out. I've had stuff in storage and slowly getting it all together. It's amazing when I put all like with like stuff how much I sort of had. So these were glue sticks. Alexis and I use a lot of these in our collages. So it really doesn't matter what type of glue stick we had. We've got some of the expensive ones. I don't know where this blue one, Boss Stick one. Some of these are cheaper from the reject shop, or the little ones. So these work really, really well if you're doing collage and if you're doing like magazine collages and paper collages, and it doesn't wet your paper and crinkle it. So we used up a few of those. I think I'm almost up to buying some of these, which was really weird. I said to Alexis when we had all those ones to use, I said don't use too much because we will run out. And that was a standing joke for a few months, so we crafted a lot and now we've run out. Speaking of glues, we'll go through the glues first. This one's an ugly one. Ugh. These ones were, I think, $1 or $2 in the reject shop. Now I did purchase them a little while ago, so I don't know whether they're still around. It's by the name of Elmer's, and it said no wrinkle on it, which intrigued me. And it has a fine tip on it. And as you can see, these ones have got a bit left in them, but I've decided I hate the glue. I'm not going to use up the last little bit. And then it's got a wider tip too. The problem with this glue is, I don't know whether it's old because it's yellow. This one's quite full and I've just chucked it because I don't like it. It's so sticky and tacky, and if you get it on your fingers, it's just, oh, it doesn't stick real well. It'll stick, but then if you pull it up, it'll come off. You've got to press it really hard with the paper. So yeah, it doesn't wrinkle, but I found a lot of other glues don't wrinkle as well, so no wrinkle was sort of not, so that one will not be a repurchase. Elmer's glue is mainly American, and I believe they do a lot of PVA glue or white school glue as well, which I haven't tried, but this particular product I would not recommend. I'd be interesting to hear if anyone else, I'm trying to get my camera angle, it'd be interesting to see if anyone else has used this Elmer's no wrinkle washable glue. I think that's all it says on it. But that was purchased from the reject shop a couple of months ago. Okay, staying on glues, what will we go to now? We'll go to these ones. So these were bits, so I had a little bit left in this one. This was like a sample one that came in a class kit. I really like this one, but unfortunately in Australia to buy this, it's so expensive. It's a deco page, it's by Deco Art, or Americana is by Deco Art, and it's like Mod Podge, and it was beautiful. It's a matte one, and it was lovely. And I'm sad to see that one go. I probably would not buy that one in Australia because it is quite expensive. What I usually buy, and can usually get these really affordably, is Mod Podge. Now you can get these on special at Spotlight. I've picked some up on clearance, and when they have their, sometimes they send out $100, spend $100, pay only $60, so it's a $40 voucher off. Sometimes I pick them up at Lincraft, 40% off. I believe they'll be doing another 40% off at the end of 2017. Probably by the time you see this video, it'll be all over. So I don't pay a lot for these, and it doesn't matter which one I get. So this one's a matte Mod Podge. and this one's a paper Mod Podge. So there's really no difference. So we did end up using both of those. Those will be both a repurchase as well. Just to give you an idea, this one's sitting on my desk. Haven't quite used it up yet. So this one says paper as well, but this one says gloss and this one says matte. I do like the matte ones, but the gloss was on clearance, so I got gloss. Not real happy with it. Prefer to stick to the matte ones. So that's about all the glues. So I do recommend Mod Podge as a good brand. Probably recommend the smaller bottles as opposed to the bigger bottles, because I found this one dried out a little as you got more air into it, and there's not much price difference to get a bigger bottle. So I'd probably stick to the small ones. They take us enough time to use up. Next one, we'll move on to pens. Got 2 pens in our bucket. I don't know whether these are use it up or these ones just dried out. So these were Uni Pen Fine Line 0.5 and 0.8, water and fade proof. I do a lot of line drawing, a lot of sketching. I haven't done that for quite a while, but I have used up quite a few of these pens. They no longer work. They're very good. I don't particularly like the tips on them. I've graduated to other tips I like. It's a bit more of a felt tip, and it's not a real good to draw one. I prefer to draw with like a ballpoint tip. So I've got, and that one I've squashed the tip in, because I have like a bit of a felt tip in and they get squashed. So those ones I probably won't repurchase. I like to try and experiment with a lot of things, but yeah, that one's I'm not going to. And I believe I got those from overseas. I think these come in a set from overseas, a Chinese supplier, but I've had those for quite a few years. Next is paints. So a few little sets of paints. So this was a watercolour set. This is an ugly one as well. The palette I love, so I'm going to keep the palette. I'm going to soak it in some water to wash out. But the paints, this was a $2.20 set from a cheapy shop. And they only had like the thinnest skim of paint. You can see the white still there. And once you painted it on, it didn't flow really well. It's a kids paint, but I do like the palette, so I will keep that and probably put my own. Whether I put my Tim Holtz Distress in here, Distress re-inkers, and use that as a palette, or whether I put watercolours in here, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. But I will wash this palette out because I do like the palette. The palette's worth $2.50, but the paints in it was yuck. So if you could sort of tell they're like shiny, the paint, and a bit sticky, and they were shiny when they went on. So that was a bit of a fail, apart from the beautiful palette. So I'll keep that one. Next, we're trying to use up a lot of our paints. A lot of these paints have been around since I had my retail store, and I've been out of that 10 years. So Alexis and I are trying to use up stuff. First two were these, was a yellow and a rose acrylic paint. They don't have a brand on them. They come with, Alexis had a canvas. She bought a canvas to paint, and these were the little paints in it, and they're acrylic paint, but they stink like oil paints. But we managed to use these two colours up on our gel plate. So I particularly didn't purchase those for the paints, but I purchased them for the canvas because it was cheaper to buy that than the other canvas. So what paint products have we got here? We've got 4 different brands. Okay, Montmartre. That is an awesome brand. That will be a repurchase, and I have repurchased some of these before. They're up to about $3 now, but I've used up my purple Montmartre paint. It's a really nice thick opaque paint. Sometimes you get these cheaper ones and they're quite transparent and they're quite thin to use, which is good in some circumstances, but all these ones were nice and opaque. So that was our purple that we used up. So that's the silver series from Montmartre, and you can find most of those in discount stores. And they're quite reasonable. Like that was $2.50, but they've gone up to about $3 a tube, so that was quite reasonably. This one is eco-friendly. This one was from Spotlight, if I can remember, and I managed to get on clearance a couple of years ago. So eco-friendly paint. Again, it was a good paint. Mainly used these on wooden projects and my gel plate recently, so that was a nice one. So that one unfortunately we can't repurchase because it was a clearance. Kaiser Craft paint is always good, and this one was around since I had my retail shop, and I've been out of that 9 years now. Wow, doesn't time fly. I so want to do my retail shop again. I so miss my customers. I so miss doing the shop. Maybe when Alexis is a bit older. So Kaiser Craft, definitely a repurchase. Not that I'm purchasing paint at the moment because we've got a huge tub of just bits and pieces to use up. And we tend to not use a lot of paint apart from an art journal page or gel plating, and you don't use much at all. And the last one, Canson. This is a good brand. This one was again from Spotlight, so I'd repurchase this brand. Again, I got these on clearance. A lot of the paints and a lot of the products I do pick up on clearance, and you can get certain colours. A lot of these paints these four mix together, the brands, really well on the gel plate. If you don't know what a gel plate is, it's basically a surface you squirt out little bits of paint and then you roll it out flat and make pretty patterns, and I've got loads of videos on my site for that. So these nice thicker paints mix really well together as well. Second last product, don't want to make these videos too long, is gesso. A must for a art journaler or a crafter. So basically gesso is an undercoat. So if you think of painting a house, you do an undercoat of paint and then you do an overcoat. So gesso is the same sort of thing. It's a primer basically for canvas, and it puts a barrier on the material canvas to then your paints will sit on top. But you can also put this onto paper and it creates a barrier on your paper as well. You can use it as over the top of paper to dull down papers. You can do a whole lot of stuff with it. So this one's my preferred brand, Montmartre. $9.95. This one's really old because now they're about $14. So I have repurchased this one. It's a bit plasticky. I would prefer to have a nicer brand of gesso, but my budget will only allow me to have this one at the moment, so that's what we go with. But definitely Montmartre. They do have black gesso as well. And I have used the black one. It's a nice thick opaque coverage as well, which is really well, and the pot lasts a long time. And I like it in the pot because you can just dip your paintbrush in and pick up the amount you want. If you've got like a squeeze out bottle, I find you squeeze out too much and then you've got nowhere to put it, so I do like the jars with the lids. And last but not least, I finished up a very big PVA glue. So Craftworks is a brand, it's been out of business probably about 6 years now. Gee, some of my stuff is really, really old. Craftworks was from a store called The Warehouse, and they did close down about 6 years ago. It was like a cheapy shop, like a reject shop, but it was huge. But unfortunately she went bankrupt, and so Craftworks is a brand from that. But PVA glue, I've used several different brands and I found that PVA glue is PVA glue. I have not found a bad one. This was a pretty good one. I think I used most of this when I made my clear gesso, so that worked really well. So I'm on the market for some more PVA glue. I think I've got a little bit in another container to use up, and then I need to repurchase again because I do use this one, and these ones can be interchangeable. So if I run out of Mod Podge, you can use the PVA glue. You just water it down a little. Again, it's glossy, so I don't like to use it, but it's good for the kids to use watered down PVA glue. You can put it in a jar and water it down, and you can keep using your good Mod Podge. So that's about it. Let me know if you'd like me to do this series every couple of months. I'd like to do a bit more product reviewing for us Aussies on the site because I see a lot of that with America. So what I'm going to do is these are all going to go in the recycle bin, and the only thing I'm going to keep out of here is my palette. And I will have this box in my office, and when it fills up a bit more, I will come back and do another The Good, the Bad and the Ugly Empties for crafting. Let me know if this is something you enjoyed or enjoy the concept of. I'd love if other Aussies did it as well. I like to see other people's opinions on the products, and it gives us an idea of what to buy and what not to buy. And as I said, this one's a don't buy. But you never know until you try it, and they're only a couple of bucks each, so it wasn't expensive. So thank you for watching, and I'll bring you another one of these when I empty some more stuff. Bye for now.